Hello everybody, Mac here. Welcome back to the show. We are doing something different today. And by different, I mean we are actually going to try and play nice with the algorithm today. It's a first, I know. But today, what we are taking a look at is this. The McFarlane Toys Gold Label Amazon exclusive Batman and Batmobile from the 1989 Tim Burton hit, Batman. And the reason we're looking at this today is because this is September 16th. This is Batman Day. I have no idea why this day was deemed Batman Day. I believe it had something to do with syncing up with Comic-Con back in the day. But for whatever reason, today is Batman Day. So we're going to be taking a look at this. We're going to be opening this up. I don't know if I'm going to compare it to the Flash Batmobile and the Flash Keaton Batman, because I really want these to stand on their own. Because I also know, like, a lot of people have seen the Flash Batmobile. There were a lot of people that bought the Flash Batmobile because we didn't know we were going to get this. So yes, now I have two Batmobiles that are probably basically the same. But taking a look at this, we can also tell that this box is completely different from the Flash box. That it's not nearly as bright, it's not gloss, it's very matte. We have the classic Batman logo from the movie over here on the side. The figure of Batman and the Batmobile kind of blend in with the matte finish of the box. On this side, we have basically the same thing, just smushed. This box is huge. On this side, we have a little bit more of a toyetic look at it, that we can see the Batmobile on a side profile. We get a better look at it. We have our Batman figure right there. We can see him in the cockpit right here. Fits most 7-inch figures. And then on both sides, I don't know if I'm going to be, we have Batman and Batmobile from Batman, and then the Bat logo. And then on the bottom, white with the barcode, legalese. So, nobody is here to see the packaging, right? No one's here to see the... Look at how big this is. I had to pull the camera back and we're getting, like, you know, the side view. So, without further ado, let's open this up and let's take a look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Amazon exclusive Gold Label Batman and Batmobile. Alright, we're going to take a look at the figure first. So here he is, Bruce, out of the box, and putting the tape measure to him, we can see that he is approximately just shy of 7¼ inches tall to the top of his head, roughly 7½ inches tall to the top of his bat ears. And let me just say, while we have him here looking at him, he looks magnificent. So bringing him up closer, the first thing I want to do is run a side-by-side with him with the Flash movie Batman here. And I'm not going to do the same thing with the Batmobile, because we know the Batmobile is basically the same Batmobile, just with a different paint job. And honestly, that's what I thought this was going to be. That's why I want to do this comparison. I thought the 89 figure was basically going to be a whole lot of reuse and a whole lot of just new paint deco from the Flash Batman. But we can see that's not the case. I don't think anything was reused between these two figures. The boots are different, the legs are different, the texturing is different, the torso pieces are different, the utility belt is different, even the head sculpts, thankfully, are different. Like, this one I didn't think was bad as far as the Keaton likeness goes, but this is a fantastic likeness of Keaton, you know, from the nose down. I think this looks great. This looks worlds better than this one does. You can even see that they've done some coloring with the lips. They've done some coloring to make the laugh lines stand out. Like, they actually took time with this one, I feel. There is some great sculpting here in the abs. I love the gold. It's not just like an orangish yellow like this one was. This is actually gold here in the chest plate, here in the belt. You can also see that the wrist bracers are pretty much like those lead-lined bracers that he wore in the movie to block blades and bolts. Or, I'm sorry, blades and bullets. I like how this is all smooth. They didn't add any of the famous McFarlane texturing. They just smoothed this out just like his suit was in the movie. The only thing that really stands out is that this, and this was brought up online a few times, this doesn't have the profile that the movie suit does, because this actually has a discernible neck. Instead of the cowl just coming straight down and attaching to the shoulder pieces, this actually has a neck so that he can have some head articulation, which we'll take a look at in a moment. Even on the back here, it's just very smooth body sculpt, and I love that. I really love that they just went with the movie feature for this. I feel like a lot of times McFarlane toys, they try to put their own spin on things, put their own mark on things, and they don't have to do that all the time. Sometimes they can just let the suit be the suit, and that's definitely something they did here. Even down here in the boots, we just have that little bit of ribbing right there at the shin pieces, but then we also have this little rubber piece right here to sort of hide the ankle joint and sort of like join the boot together. I get what they were going for. I don't know if I like it. I'll be honest. Like, I don't hate it, but I don't know if it was particularly necessary. Now, taking a look at the articulation, we can see that his head will do a full 360. He can look side to side, something that Keaton couldn't do. He has some really good head tilt. Once again, something that Keaton couldn't do. That's all the further he can look up, and that's all the further he can look down. He does have full range of motion with the arm. He has butterfly joints that kind of stick a little bit, but I have a feeling that those will come loose over time. Arm comes up to under 90. He has a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows with some really decent travel, wrists swivel, wrists hinge in and out, or you can do this. Whoop, you can do this. You can do that. And now they hinge up and down. He has the ab cut right here that he can do a full spin at the ab. He can crunch back. He can crunch forward a little. He has a ball joint at the waist that once again he can do a full spin. He can use that to lean back. He can use that to lean forward. Using both of them in conjunction gives him a lot more range of motion, but also this ball joint gives him the ability to rock side to side a little bit. Whoops. Legs will come forward. Legs will go back. Double jointed knees with some really good travel. Hidden thigh joint doesn't really do much of anything. No boot cut. Ankles rock back. Ankles rock forward. Forward facing pin for some rocker. And it has toe articulation. Also has a habit of the legs kick forward a little too much at the knee. You kind of have to find that sweet spot right there. A few things I wanted to draw attention to was, once again, the diaper piece. I feel like they're doing a really good job with the crotch piece, making this just fit with the rest of the suit, making it streamlined. It's not oversized. Also, I just really love the sculpt of this utility belt. It is simple and beautiful, just like it was in the movie. I know, it's just a belt. But also we have the cloth goods cape. And this is basically the same cape that the Flash Batman had. And that's really all you need. I love how it's sort of heavy. I mean, you can still see through it, but it's heavier than like the Mattel capes are, the Mattel cloth goods capes. I really like that. It lays very nicely whenever you want to have it off the shoulders, but then you can also bring it forward. You can bring it forward and have it shroud him a bit. Come on. Yeah. There we go. It lays fairly nice. It dimples a little bit right in here, but I don't think there's anything you're going to be able to do about that. But I do like how you can sort of like shroud him down in it. That classic pose of just standing there with the cape folding around him. I do wish it had a wire, because if we were able to flare it out, especially with his arms coming out, that would be really cool. Something else I want to take a look at, not just the head sculpt here, but also look at these eyes. These eyes are indented very nicely into the mask, and you can kind of see where there's a separation between the mask and the rest of his face, or at least where there would be a separation between his mask and the rest of his face. And you can make out where he would have had to have done the black paint around the eyes. And that just makes the eyes of the figure, which I think are done very well, stand out even more. Very piercing eyes, looking straight. I love the paint deco they did with his whole head sculpt right here, eyes and lower jaw. This whole thing just looks perfect. Now, as far as accessories go, like all DC Multiverse figures, he comes with a figure stand, the black circle with the DC logo stamped on the front. And that's it. There's really no accessories with our Batman. There's no additional hands, there's no Batarang, there's no grapple gun. And that kind of disappoints me. Oh, also, there's no collector's card, which I'm sure some of you might have seen that even though they were advertising it with the collector's card of the Batmobile, it doesn't come with the collector's card. So there's that. But I'm kind of upset that the only thing we got with him were clenched fists. There's, like I said, there's no Batarang, there's no grapple gun. I get that, but I don't know. I feel like they could have come out with a different set of hands for him as well, or at least one open hand, so that like you could take the grapple gun or the Batarang from one of the Flash Batman figures and put it in his hand, because it looked so much like the accessories that he used, the equipment that he used in the movie, that if you had extras, you could paint it black to go along with him. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why not just take your Flash Batman, pop the grip hands off, because they look like about the same size, and they look about the same, pop the grip hands off, and put it on this guy. Because this guy, the hands don't come off, and it doesn't feel like the peg is designed, like it actually starts stretching the peg before the hand will pop off. And I'm sure if I heated it up, or I put it in some hot water and loosened it up, that I might be able to get it off, and then get the hands from this guy onto him. But here's the thing. I don't want to take that chance. I don't want to take the chance of breaking it, because this is it. This is the only one that we're going to be able to get, because we know this set has sold out, and I don't know. I don't want to take the chance, because I'm also not buying the movie pack of movie Batmans, because quite honestly, this is really the only movie Batman I care about. Okay, so with the Batmobile, there is some assembly required. Not much, but we have to lock these wing pieces into the fenders right here. And this is pretty much exactly the same as the Flash Batmobile. That you can see there are grooves here in the top of the fenders, one long, two short, and that coincides with the wings, the tabs on the wings, one long, two short, so that you can't put them on the wrong sides, which I like. I like when companies do that, so that like because sometimes when you put these things on and you put them on the wrong side, you almost break it trying to get them back off. But with this, you know there's only one way they go on, and there they go, snap on tight. Dun, dun. Okay, so here we go, the Batmobile together and out of the box, and putting the tape measure to it, we can see that from the front to the tail, roughly to about the very tip of this tail right here, we are looking at approximately 22 inches long, and it looks like from the bottom of the tire to the top of the canopy right here, we're looking at roughly 5.5 inches tall. Now, I don't think I need to say this more than once. This is basically the Flash Batmobile. It's the same mold, it's the same body design, everything is the same, but the paint deco is what is the most different. And right off the bat, we can see that this is a very matte black. This is a very matte, almost like a matte satin finish black. I know a lot of people prefer that. I know a lot of people have painted their old Batmobiles this color. But for me, and this is really the only comparison I'm going to make, for me, I preferred the shiny gloss of the Flash Batmobile, because I've actually seen this Batmobile in person. When it was doing the rounds, when it was coming to conventions, when it was going to car shows, all in promotion of Batman back in '89, I wasn't allowed to sit in it, but I was very close to this, and it was a very, very shiny car. As a matter of fact, there were some greens and some blues in it, so that as you walked around the vehicle, it kind of looked like it was moving, that like that little bit of color on underlay underneath that high gloss black looked like it moved whenever you were moving around it. So I get why people like the matte finish. It doesn't leave fingerprints, it's easier to keep clean, but for me, for being as close to the actual Batmobile, I prefer the glossy finish. Another big bonus we have of this over the Flash Batmobile is that the canopy is finished. Why they didn't paint the canopy on the Flash Batmobile is beyond me. I am trying to find a paint to match the gloss of the Flash Batmobile, but I don't get why that was never finished. Taking a look at it, it does have that very distinct design. I don't think it cinches at the waist right here nearly as much as the original does, but they did what they could with what they had. I feel like it needs to be not only wider, because this only fits one figure instead of two side by side, but I feel like it not only needs to be wider, but it would have to be longer to be truly in scale with the 7-inch figures. But this is a fantastic scale, toy-wise. Also, we can see that it has these panels right here. In the movie, if you remember, these panels popped off and the two Browning 50 cows came up from underneath. This doesn't have that. Those panels don't come out. This isn't armed with anything. What we do have is a button right here. And when you press that, the canopy releases, and then it slides forward, just like it did in the movie. You can also lift it and position it that way, but we all know it's supposed to come forward. And then once it does come forward, we can see down into the cockpit. Try and get some light in there. Will this work? A little bit. We can get some light down in there, and you can see that the controls have all been silvered, which is very cool. We have some silver riveting down here along the sides. You can see the texture of the seat. I really dig that. I like the attention to detail that they gave inside the canopy. Like I said, though, you can see you can only get the one figure in here and nothing else. This is also why the Flash Batman and the two Keaton Batmans, basically, that came with this. The Keaton Batman from the Flash and the Keaton Batman 489 have cloth capes, because if they had plastic capes, hard goods capes, you'd never be able to get them in the cockpit. Down here on the wheels, we have a real nice gunmetal on the hubcaps. Also have a nice gunmetal look for the Bat logos right here on the wheels as well. This isn't nearly as complex of piping and gadgetry as we saw in the movie. Now, there's also should be like a grappling hook that shoots out the side. I know a lot of people were upset about that. I was kind of bummed about that too, because like I feel that it wouldn't have cost anything to like right here in this hole. That's not where it's supposed to go, but you could have easily mounted it, just like something on a short string that you could pull out just for effects. Down in here, we have some nice texturing for the intakes, and here as well. I feel like this should be a different color in there. Let me see if I can get light in there again. I feel like this should be a different color in there. Like this should have been silver, gunmetal, sort of like the rims, but it's just painted out black. But there is some nice texturing in there. Up front, you can see we have the lights. Not very yellow, not very reflective, more of like a mustard. But we also have our main turbine right here. This side, exactly the same as the other. On the bottom, whoops, dog hairs. On the bottom, we have the Bat logo, where this is like where that plunger would have come down, so it could have spun like we saw in Batman Returns. Not a bad design, not a bad mold for down below. Very basic, not a whole lot of detail, but who's really going to be looking at it from underneath? I do dig how the exhaust pipes come off of the turbine here, though. I like that. That's a nice touch. And then in the back, of course, we do have the big rocket engine. It's not perfectly round. It's more like oblonged. So we have the big rocket engine, we have the tail lights, and we have his exhaust pipes. Also, we have the louvers right here in back, which was probably for cooling off the engine while this thing was running hot. All in all, there's a reason I bought 2 of these. This is my favorite Batmobile. As a matter of fact, I might have even mentioned that way back when I did the Lego version of this. This is my favorite Batmobile. This was a very influential design for Batman. This obviously influenced the Batman the Animated Series Batmobile. And it's one of a kind. It really is. All of the other ones have sort of like tried to mimic this. And this also started the design of the Batmobile having this very elongated nose. Because not only did the Batman the Animated Series have the long nose, but I think even the Batmobile in the comics now are very long, very sharp, very long. And I do believe that that is still an influence from this. Like, there really hasn't been a Batmobile that influences the design of other Batmobiles as much as this one, with the exception of maybe the Batman 66 Batmobile that started to inspire a bunch of like 2-seater open-top roadsters up until this one came out. We also have some real nice tread work on the tires here. You can see up on the back and up front. They're basically the same tires, but also the axles are joined so that when one wheel spins on a side, both wheels spin. We have the same front and back. Now, they don't spin very freely when it's just up in the air like this, but when it's on the ground, there is enough weight behind it that it rolls fairly well on its own. It's real smooth. All right, so here we are with our Batmobile open, the canopy popped open, and here we have our Batman, and you kind of have to have him already preset in this sort of like legs forward, knees bent a little pose. And then, thankfully, with the cloth goods cape, we position him like so. Tuck his hands down underneath the dash, and then you kind of have to get him to slouch so that the bat ears will snap underneath the form, underneath the lip right here. And then there we go. There he is. Batman's in his car, and he's ready to roll. So there it is, the McFarlane Amazon exclusive Batman and Batmobile 2-pack from Batman 1989. I know I am very lucky to have received this. I know I am very lucky to have had my pre-order honored. And I am very happy that I have this. I don't even mind that that means that I have 2 Batmobiles. If I would have known this was coming out, I probably wouldn't have bought the Flash Batmobile, to be completely honest. But we didn't know this was happening. I think we knew we were going to get an 89 Batman, but once again, I just assumed that was going to be a repaint of the Flash Batman. This whole thing kind of impresses me that the figure is completely new. The figure is a completely different sculpt, and I do think it's better than the Flash Batman. Even the shade of black, I feel, is a deeper, richer, cleaner shade of black on the figure than what was on the Flash figure. In some ways, I prefer the Flash Batmobile over this one, to be completely honest. Like I said before, I prefer the glossy paint job on the Flash Batmobile. I do like the rims, the gunmetal gray rims on this one more. I also like that this one has a painted canopy. Other than that, they're kind of the same to me. The paint job, honestly, is the biggest deciding factor for me between what I like and what I don't like. The lack of accessories, though, that kind of gets me. The lack of having any kind of grip hands, the lack of having the grapple gun and the Batarang, because you already have all that stuff molded. You could have easily repainted the Batarang, recolored, remolded the Batarang and the grapple gun in black to match up with this figure. Now, with the 6-pack that's coming out, the Batman movie 6-pack, I don't know if, I can't remember if that Batman, that Keaton Batman, has interchangeable hands or not. I'm not really worried about that, though, because this is really the only 89 Batman that I need for now. I'm good with this. I think the figure looks great. I think the face sculpt looks great. As a matter of fact, I know for as many people that wanted this for the Batmobile, I think the highlight of this set is the figure itself, with that Keaton likeness and that undeniably Batman 89 body sculpt. and coloring. The gold is fantastic. The gold takes me right back to, the gold takes me back to the Kenner line, or was it Toy Biz? I can't remember, that came out after that movie when everything was just like gold and black. I think it looks that good. So thank you for joining me on that most holy of days, Batman Day. Thank you for taking a look at this with me. So until next time, my friends, play well, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching, and join us again next time, same bat channel.